All right, and we are recording. Welcome
Awesome.
everybody to the Jaye Wellness Studio. I got a guest here that's visiting. He might not be visiting for all the right reasons, but hopefully he's gonna have some information for a lot of you out there. We got a full-time musician in the house. He's gonna talk to you a lot about what he's going through, and he's gonna definitely show you that this thing is not for the weak of the heart because it's really a condition that a lot of you probably are dealing with. But I won't chatter too much. I'll let him kind of talk about what he's going through, and then he might even have some questions for me that I can help as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and give you the stage. We have Mason joining.
Hey,
Mason, it's good to we
hey.
finally connected. I know it's been since October that
I
we
know I've been following you for a while, been chiming in on all the YouTube and Facebook posts, and yeah, thanks for taking the time to speak with me. Tons of people. As soon as you deal with eustachian tube dysfunction, you see that there's tons of people suffering with from it. So you know that the more that the conversation can be had, the closer we get to finding something that'll help someone. Everyone's issue seems to be different, so that's the weird thing about this.
That's the weird, very weird thing, and I can't wait to, hopefully dive into some of the things you've been going through. But being a full-time musician, coming from a household where my dad was a musician as well,
Oh, cool.
it's not easy. It's a it's a challenging thing to do, especially when you're dealing with what you're dealing with. So just tell me, how are you able to manage? I mean, on the note of
So
what you do.
yeah, so I mean, I've had ETD like probably my whole life. Ever since I was a toddler, I can think about
Wow.
times I've had ear infections. I can't even tell you, countless ear infections. And of course, I started playing music when I was a young kid. I've also been to music school, so I've done a lot of ear training and stuff like that, where you are really dialing in on frequencies. And something I really suffer with is hyperacusis. So if I
Oh,
get a cold or a little bit of an issue, my ears become so sensitive, and it messes with the tonality of things.
right.
I'm the main producer for our records, so especially when I
Wow.
have like everything set up the way I want to, and I'm trying to really dial in and feel something with music, having hyperacusis and little things like that to bother me, it makes it difficult. So definitely looking to find some kind of path to just, dealing with less ETD, getting over the mental part of it, and not struggling so much here, so that the music ultimately is better.
Is what's driving you now. Is it something, would you say, do you have breaks in between feeling the discomfort, or is it
Yeah.
just
So
straight
this
on?
is kind of how it's been for me. Is I'll have I'll have bouts where my ears get really tight. Pretty much every time I eat, I don't know if it's the same for other people
Oh,
out there. I know you talk a lot about
yeah.
TMJ.
Sure.
I've been to I've done the same thing that you have, where it's the round of dentists, allergists, the whole loop where you just can't find the answers. And same with like taking all the medicines. So, uh, yeah, anytime I chew, anytime there's a problem with moving my jaw too much, it locks my tubes up, and I can feel that there's a pressure difference. Something that's a little unique about me is I can flex my tensor palatine muscle like at any time. I don't
Wow,
know if
that's
you can, or if you've heard of that. Like literally, as I'm sitting here,
oh,
I just
man.
popped both my ears open completely. I could hear the air hit the inside of my eardrum. They just completely opened up. And
Wow.
it's a good and bad thing because I know I can do it and I've always been able to do it.
Right,
Whenever I get sick and I can't do it, it gives me this sense of phantom limb syndrome or something. It's almost like my brain knows the muscles can move and they're
right.
trying really hard to contract, but they're swollen. So a lot of times, that's you asked how I deal with, like, dealing with the frequencies and like being a musician. I can pop my ears pretty much at will.
Wow.
Um, when I'm healthy, when I'm not having bouts, which is
Right,
it seems to be. I have a month of good hearing, and I can use my eustachian tubes, I guess I could say, and then I'll have 2 or 3 months of bad hearing. One little cold, like a cold that won't even destroy my body, like just a
right,
light cold that I'll get over will just lock my ears up for months. It'll change the way I'm hearing things. It changes the way, um, like one ear, you already know, one ear's different than the other, or one ear will have hyperacusis, which is really weird. For example,
right,
my fiance opened a soda can next to me, and it just made my ears ring for like a whole 3 minutes. And she's like, "It's a soda can," and she
right,
doesn't totally get it.
right,
Well, she does, but she's not thinking. She's just living her life.
right,
And
right.
so yeah, it's little things like that. I don't know if you ever met other people that can manipulate their muscle like that?
I was just gonna touch. You said the tensor valley palatini muscle, right?
I think
Yeah.
that's what it is. I know I can pop my eustachian tubes open and close when I'm healthy.
you are a unique case. It's actually like you just said, it actually plays into your advantage point, but it also gives you this sense of basically as you're going on with your day to day, it becomes like second nature. It becomes something that you tend to want to do all the time because it's
I
just
do it hundreds
so
of
easy.
times a day.
See, and you don't have to actually plug your nose and do it, huh? You don't even have to
So
do
it
that, do you?
actually is harder for me if I go like this,
Right.
it I can feel everything tense up. But
Uh,
if I lift like if I want to pop this one, I lift it up and go, I just opened it up. That's how I
oh,
would regulate. When
wow.
I'm really sick, I'll try to I've actually done it once, too hard, and the bones or something shifted, and my whole room went spinning, and I was like, "Oh
Like a
gosh."
case of
So
vertigo or just,
yeah, but like, it almost like I could feel like I inflated a little area, and it
yeah.
shifted something, and then super bad vertigo for, like, 10 minutes. It was really
And then
weird.
it
So I
subsides
tried
hopefully
not to
after
do
that.
this. Um the, Valsalva maneuver. I try
Yeah.
not to do that. I do use the Eustachian. If I didn't have that, I know some people say it doesn't work. Some people say it does work.
Right.
For me, I have to have it. There's no way I can fly. There's no way I can travel if I go through the mountains.
Wow.
Um, what happens is the negative pressure is easier to deal with than the positive pressure. So if I have a little bit of barotrauma or something with too much pressure, and I try to pop
Right.
my ears, no problem. Negative pressure, it's like almost near impossible. It makes the muscles stick, and then I can't pop them, and it's super weird. So
It's
a lot of
that
my
is
OCD. Go
wow,
ahead, sorry.
that is something else, Mace. I mean, I just want to tell everyone that's going to be watching this, like this is something that you've been see, we don't a lot of people that are just discovering that they have this, they don't realize how medically savvy one becomes about their body.
100%,
And I just want to
100%.
just touch on that. You're just speaking from a level of like high level of expertise.
Thanks.
It's probably not something you want, but
It's not something
it's
I'm proud of. All it means is that my ears
right.
are when I'm going through it, I just stay up all night trying to pop my ears, learning about the muscles, trying to figure out what medications do what's more effective, you know, just constant research. So I'm trying to sound like I know what I'm talking about a little bit. I've been to a couple
Yeah.
ENTs where I've even like said things like tensor valentini or tensor Vi
Valley
Palatini.
Palatine.
Yeah, now I can't even say it. Um, they didn't know what I'm talking about, you know what I mean?
Wow.
So I was, feeling like, "Okay, what do I do?"
What do you do? You're coming to the source. Now let me ask you this, Mason. Um, so you're dealing with bouts. You have these bouts that sometimes they somewhat taper off, but then they're pretty much not there, and you're constantly having to do this all the time. Do
I
you
do a
find
lot of
that
the
there?
stuff you because of a
Yeah,
lot of stuff you say, eating healthy,
right.
exercise, um,
Trying to make adjustments, right?
red light therapy. I do all of that. So that's what gives me these bouts of clarity. Sorry to
So
cut
what?
you off.
Oh, no problem. What do you find now? I know you know yourself better than anyone else, and you've seen it all, you've felt it all. Do you think that there's some correlation between maybe what you're feeling at the time, where you're going, or do you think there's anything that kind of triggers a sudden reaction? Because after this amount of time, I can imagine that you probably tracked it all by now. I mean, you're probably like to the point where you've been tracking and trying to figure this thing out. So, do you
Yes.
notice that there's a spike or a dip or anything throughout your weeks and months?
Aside from getting sick, moments where if I get too worked up, usually when I get my blood flowing, everything is better. If I can or I'll just do like 15. So basically, if I'm feeling a bout coming on, I'll do like 20 push-ups, get the blood flowing, and I start
Right.
feeling a little better. Like my nasal passage clears up, which then releases the tension on my eustachian tubes, and then I'm able to pop them myself, and I'm like, okay, I can calm myself back down. Obviously,
Right.
cortisol, anxiety, all plays into that.
Right.
I unfortunately suffer with such bad night anxiety. When
Oh,
For whatever reason, when I lay down and start to sleep and stop popping my ears, which is obviously like an OCD obsession of mine at this point, they sit like still and then they just like stop being strong. They don't work as well. So when I wake up the next morning, it takes me like 2 hours to get my ears to pop and then I get ramped up. So I'll be laying there and I'll start to fall asleep, and then I'll roll my head over. And in the process of sleeping, I'll be breathing in and out, which is flexing, sucking in on my eardrum. I'll roll
right.
over and it'll feel like the pillow's still on my head because I have negative pressure. And then
Oh,
I'll be up, and then the cycle continues. So I sleep in like bouts of like 2 hours right now. So that's kind of like the biggest problem I've been kind of going against. But
I
sorry, I
think
think I
that's
got off
the
of what your original
no,
question
no,
was.
you're good. I actually wanna know all of what you're going through like that just because I wanna start And I know you're doing a lot of that as well, troubleshooting.
Yes.
I will definitely say that it's weird because all the people I talk to, they all are in different phases and stages of this thing. And for you, you're one of the more advanced ones, and like you said, not something you're proud about. But you're it's so advanced now at what you're feeling and what you witnessed and what you're going through, that it's at this point that's when I think the mental health thing kicks in. As you become advanced in this thing, you actually become worse mentally because you're like, okay, when you know so much about something and
Mhm.
you feel like you think you got a hand on it, but then you're not healing. It's almost like,
It's
you
very
know,
frustrating.
it's frustrating. It's like all of a sudden you woke up and you didn't know how to play your musical, your musical
Yeah.
instruments anymore. You would be like, "Whoa, I gotta, this is
Mhm.
what's going on here," because it's something you're advanced at. So you're at a different level, Mason. Honestly, I've talked to many people, a lot of them offline, a lot of them on YouTube and things like that. But you're at a sense where, like you said, you grew up as a child having ear issues and infections and things like that. So you've had your
Yeah.
bouts. Um, I want, obviously, the basic things that are going wrong. Obviously, the sleep is definitely
Yes.
one of the
It's
first
so
things.
hard for me. I know that it's hard to know that, like, be more calm and sleep more will equal healthier. But also when I do
Right.
both of those things, I feel worse. So
Right.
it's like I'm just stuck, just going around, just like stuck, feeling, I don't know. It's a hard thing. So I try really hard to sleep, especially like if I get a cold. It's
Oh,
almost impossible. I try to
yeah.
sleep sitting up and everything, but every time I fall asleep and I feel my unconscious slip, I just slip into anxiety, and then my
Right.
brain goes, "This is anxiety. We'll get past it." Like I'm doing the actively trying to do the right things to calm myself down, and then I do, and then I go back to sleep for an hour, and then I
Yeah.
try to roll over, my ears messed up, and then it's just, so that's, I'm trying really hard to focus on the mental health aspect of it. That's the next step of my journey, I think, but there is unfortunately no instant cure. The only thing, like, I have a few things I actually wanted to bring up later, but of how I think I could help myself, but like there
Right.
is no, like, people, I've heard you say it before, people are looking for the one medicine, the one thing, the one,
Right.
like, but
Yeah.
unfortunately
But
you have to do a ton of things for a
you
long
have to
time.
do a ton of, and that's I think that's the exhausting part. The exhausting part, and this kind of is the telltale of the individual going through it. Um, it depends on how, and you could tell me a little bit about how your personality type is too. I think when you're a ferocious person that just can't quit, can't stop, won't stop, and you have it's not the best personality type. It's a personality type, but when
It's
you're that
definitely
personality,
me.
that's
I
you.
can't
And I was
chill.
I
It's
was gonna
hard.
say that. I was gonna say that, Mason. You're a lot like me. I mean, you're that type that's like, I'm not gonna. And that's not to knock us or anything. It's not to say that's a bad type. Or
No, I mean,
unfortunately,
it's
though, it plays against our what we're trying to do for ourselves. Though
right.
it makes it harder. So you said at night was one of the is really the time that you can't. It's hard for
Yeah, I
you to
mean,
really let go and settle down.
it
Then,
makes it hard, yeah. Also, I wanted, another thing I wanted to preface is that I do a lot of work to take care of my ears. I'm not a musician that blasts my ears. I have ear
right,
protection. I make sure,
right,
like, I want to be able to hear when I'm an old guy. It's very important to me. I want to
right.
hear all the little tiny microtones and things and changes and
Right,
all the
you're
music.
right.
That's what makes music so great. You know what I mean? You can listen to
Exactly.
something and hear the depth of it. So, um, yeah, so nighttime is definitely the worst because of how I have to relax, and I honestly, because I can pop my ears, it has become an OCD thing for me. So it's really hard for me not to. Every time I eat something, I want to pop them immediately, and I know I can't, so I have to like wait, let the muscles relax. Anytime I do something that it inhibits me from being able to pop my ears, all I want, that's all I want to do. You know
That's
what I
all you
mean?
wanna
So it's
do, right.
yeah, it's
You
very
just want
hard.
that relief, and it's
What
easy, it's relief, it's easy relief, but yeah, I wanna go ahead. I wanna definitely
Every
wanna
time
hear
I
what you're
fly on a
gonna say
plane,
here.
I have a barometer app that I pull up and I sit it down and I watch the
Oh,
pressure go up. And then when it hits a certain amount of pressure, I pop my ears and I make sure it's safe. If I fall asleep on a plane and I don't regulate and that goes too far, I'll have so much negative pressure that I'll just be screwed. So if I
wow.
don't periodically pop my ears at a certain like time or pressure, then I'll be messed up. So like that's the science of flying for me. I'm like every 20 minutes, I'll be watching a show. I have to flip back to my barometer and be like, oh, pressure's increased by however much percentage, so let me make sure my ears are good, and then I'll feel them pop, and I'm like, "I didn't even notice they were getting changed," you know what I mean?
Right, right.
So, I've had multiple times where I've had to fly to a session or had to fly to a performance, and I get off the plane and one ear is completely destroyed. I'm like, and I have to perform and look like I'm having a good time and like not be a burden to the musicians around me, like,
Right.
you know, be, myself. So, um, yeah, so flying without the barometer and there's no sleeping on a flight for me. It doesn't exist. I
Oh,
cannot do it.
man, that's tough. That's very
Yeah.
tough.
So, um,
And you like that's just what just want to comment on the barometer app that you have. See that is another sign of your advanced nature. A lot of viewers watching that's going to watch this, they're not going to even think, "Oh, shoot, maybe I could download something like that," or maybe a lot of people are not even going to know they exist through an app. And so, see, you're giving that little bit of information for a lot of the people that watch this and are completely unaware that they can even track that. And so, the
yeah,
fact
like
that you're doing it, yeah, yeah.
any little bit of science or just like numbers or knowledge that I can have will just somehow it makes it worse, but maybe it also soothes me. I don't really know. I think it soothes me, but I don't who knows. Being able to track it helps me, I think. So,
Yeah, it's one of those things, I had all the works. I think if you watched one of the interviews I have had is I had like this carrying bag with me, and it was not healthy a thing. It was not healthy. Hopefully you're not at that point yet, but I had like a carrier bag of like different things that I assume that may help or might help,
oh,
or
I absolutely do. I have an
you
everyday
have
carry
that?
bag.
Oh,
Thousands.
yeah.
I've got you I'm not leaving the house without Flonase. I'm not no, no.
See, see.
I know it's not
Oh,
helpful, but it is at the
you're right.
same time.
You're right.
It's like, it's not good for you to do Flonase for a decade. There's no way that
Right.
it's, like,
Right.
good for any of your, like, glands or anything, but
Right.
at the same time, like, I feel like I do get some kind of relief when before I go to bed, I have to hit Flonase. I have been addicted to Afrin before, but, you beat that monster, you know what I mean? Like, if you're
Good.
watching,
Yeah.
don't get addicted to Afrin and don't use it longer than you're
Oh,
supposed to. It's the
it's
worst.
strong stuff. Yeah,
Um
and it's not. Yeah,
I have
definitely.
had about one time. I usually don't get. I'm trying not to take too many pills. Like I've tried them all. I've tried all the like anti-inflammatory drugs that the ENT tells you to do. I did
Yeah.
go. My mom was an ER nurse for years, and then she has since graduated up to being a
Oh,
doctor. So she's in the medical field. She's without her,
congrats! Wow,
I would be. It's very helpful to have an idea, and I can bounce it off her, and she can text me back in 2 seconds, and it's like a professional.
that is
Um,
amazing. Wow.
Opinion, yeah, exactly. So, the only time I've ever felt relief from a anti-inflammatory drug was a drug called Decadron. Have you ever heard of that?
I haven't.
It is, I don't know anything, so don't take my opinion
Oh
about
yeah,
all
yeah.
I know is I went one time and it was very inflamed. They gave me like a drip with Decadron. I'm pretty sure there's pills too, but it shrunk like my whole head. It was really weird. Obviously, this couldn't
Whoa.
be healthy, but like my physical head was smaller. Like my skin was like I don't know how to explain it, like thinner in a weird way. Like
Who
everything
gave you?
shrunk.
What doctor gave you that? Was that an
Um,
ENT
It was
or who?
it was in the ER, so my mom was working the ER. She's like, "Just come in and
Ah,
see me. I'll have one of my docs check you out." So I go in there, I talk to her, I give her the whole spiel. My ear is
right.
tight as hell. She can see it. It was actually bulging a little bit. It was so tight. You can see it, this
Oh
whole
man,
area. And she gave me Decadron. My head shrunk. My ear popped. I was like, "Ah, relief." So that was
I'm
maybe
gonna
the
have to
only.
research that just for my own knowledge.
Yeah, something
Jeez.
worth bringing up. I obviously don't promote doing anything without talking to your
Yeah,
doctor. Um,
absolutely. Oh man, that sounds very strong. So now after that happened, you were like, okay, nah, yeah, I'm not. Was it something
after
you
that
were like,
happened
okay, I can't do that?
I was like, I don't want to be relying on stuff like
Right,
this to, you know what I mean? And the thing is I'm living my life. I'm not thinking about my eustachian tube necessarily when I'm on stage, or if I'm
right,
singing, I'm yelling a lot, my jaw's going, I'm trying to
right.
perform, or even if I'm in a loud bar, just like, trying to entertain people. And then at the end of the day, I'm like, man, my jaw, I used it so much. I touch my neck and it's all swollen. And I try to pop my ears and it doesn't work. And I try this, it doesn't work. I'm like, oh my gosh, like what's happening? Um,
And yeah,
the
you're having
only
to deal with that. Jeez.
the only thing that I can think to myself of like what could be a definitive fix for me is to lose like a ton of weight. I mean, like just completely lose so much weight. Like my head is just a different size. You know what I mean? Um,
Right.
I'm on my weight loss journey right now, so that's kind of the only thinking that I can think of. Like I know people that like, especially I did some research where people that got into long distance running would get Paltuous
Right.
eustachian tubes. So if that's
Oh,
giving
patulence, yeah,
pa
absolutely.
if that's giving the regular person patulous eustachian tubes, then someone that had like me who has clogged ones might just get regular ones. That's like my
That's something
that's
that you're
my
shooting for, yeah.
yeah, exactly.
I was gonna say you
My
look
weird
good now.
thinking.
I mean, I mean, you don't come shock. You don't look to me as someone that needs to be losing a ton of weight. But
Right, well, no, I
honestly,
mean, I just wanna do what I can
what you
if
can, right,
to just
naturally,
be as naturally small as possible.
right,
It's
right.
hard, I'm a hungry boy.
But you're doing honestly, Mason. I mean, I know your mental health probably takes a hit, but just hearing you speak right now. I mean, you're doing better than you probably give yourself credit for. Honestly, I mean,
Thanks,
this
man,
is
it's been a
not
long
an
time.
easy thing. It's not.
I've
It's
had, months that have gone where
gosh,
I couldn't hear out of one of my ears. It was just pure pain, like, I'm and not to exaggerate, where it just ruined so many things. I mean, you already know, I'm preaching to the choir talking to you, but, yeah, just ruined so much of my of my plans for, like, almost over a whole year, where it was
yeah.
just about not like no break from it, just having terrible pain, couldn't, congestion, everything. So yeah, I've been through it. I'm trying to find a way where it happens less and less.
And you know what? And I think the more what I think what stunted my ability to heal or my inability to heal was really just not really discussing it more. I know that sounds crazy, but
Mhm,
I was trying to do all this stuff behind closed doors. I was trying to do a lot of my healing by myself. And between visits that I would go to visits and talk to doctors, nurses, things like that. But I didn't have that social interaction. I didn't have that support group. I didn't have that,
mhm,
like talking with you right now. I didn't have any of that. And it sounds crazy, but when I've gotten jabs before, people tell me, "Oh, you can't be prescribed. You can't diagnose people on YouTube." I'm not diagnosing anybody on YouTube, but I will say this: you need a little bit of both. You need a little bit of that medical interaction, which you've already
mhm.
clearly done, and
Yeah,
then you kind of need that open space, that open kind of community environment, what you're doing as well, to be able to just kind of tap into that mental side, man. I think once you start getting better, I know it's just gonna sound like that doctor or that friend or someone that's just trying to get you out the door. I think the biggest thing is your sleep right now. Like that,
yeah,
I'm not saying that's what caused everything. Obviously,
mhm,
you've done a lot of things, but I think the first thing is trying to figure out what are some things you can do to kind of turn this off a little bit. Um,
yeah.
so you can get those hours. And so, just asking you, how many hours would you say? I know you said you wake up sometimes, things like that, but what would you say on average? How much do you sleep per day?
Not
Per day?
like not a lot. Maybe like just last night I went to bed at probably 4 and then I woke up at
Woo,
like 9, so
Mason.
it's hard.
Mm,
I
It's
can't
hard.
sleep. I have anxiety attacks while I'm trying to
Yeah,
sleep.
yeah,
And then I find moments, there's little moments I don't I think other people deal with this where they are
yeah.
more soothed during the day. I hear my fiance out here playing with my dog and stuff, and then I can maybe take like 30 minutes, to 30-minute
Right.
nap where I just feel soothed, like things are fine, but like everyone goes to bed, everyone else is asleep, the house is quiet, and then I have a problem. I feel like my ear's not right, or I wasn't thinking, I had a snack, and then it just throws me off for an hour, and then I start to just
I've had
I get out of control.
I've had that. I mean, I'm gonna tell you this right now. Nighttime was, and you're not the first one at all. I've talked to, I would say, a couple of dozen people throughout the last 4 to 5 months. You're not the
Yeah.
first person at all. The nighttime, it does something to you. It's you don't have that positive stimulation at night. You
Yeah.
feel kind of alone because you're the only one dealing with this. It's dark, so you can't really go outside and do anything. You can't really affirm what you're feeling,
Mhm.
because it's just like, oh, I guess I should sleep.
What
And
I
so,
do is I end up
yeah,
working. I just end up be on the computer till
right.
the end of time, and I'm like, "Okay, I have to leave, or I'm gonna be just I won't
Yeah,
even be here for this
completely exhausted.
conversation."
You're right, right. You're gonna be
Yeah.
completely exhausted. And so I think the biggest thing is working on the mind. You know that already. But I think honestly, you do better. You're doing better than a lot of people. And it doesn't seem like that to you, but you're doing better than a lot of people with this thing, honestly.
Good. If anything about what I do can help someone else, I'm here for it. it
Yeah.
sucks. So
You're
I
doing
hope so.
great with that. Honest, and so let me backtrack a little bit more. So
Mhm.
when you said growing, I want to kind of get into a little bit of your childhood. When you said you were getting constant ear infections, was there a reason? Like, was it
I
just
don't even know.
the
I feel like
structure, maybe the ear
every
structure?
single time I get sick, yeah. So I have actually went and got a MRI. I think it was an MRI. No, wait. What's the one where they put uh, the color in your blood so they can see it? Maybe it's a CAT scan. They
Cat,
put you
yeah,
in like a
yeah,
tube.
yeah,
So I went and had that done. They did my whole head to see if there was any structural issues or
right,
the only thing they couldn't tell is the angle of my eustachian tube. My mom and a few other professionals that she's talked to, they think that maybe my tubes aren't angled down, that they actually have a curve that goes a little bit up and it creates like this little bit of a
right,
way so that they aren't draining into my throat, right? Um, so
right.
uh, yeah, I've actually been and did a full CAT scan or whatever it is, and saw that there wasn't any like structural abnormalities with my head or any, no tumors or anything like that. Of course, you can think the worst when you're feeling it and googling stuff, but
Oh yeah,
90% of the time it's
yeah.
not that.
And see, and then I think that's where you're a lot better than I was. I was starting to get a little gory in my thoughts a lot when
Hmm.
year three was rolling around,
Hmm.
or I would say maybe year two, end of year two was rolling around. I was starting to think the worst a little bit, and then googling stuff and doing all this, trying to figure out what's going on. And when you told me you were seeing all these doctors too, when you go and see all these doctors and you come home and you're like, okay, they don't seem to have a clue what this is either. it
Hmm.
it can definitely start triggering that mental collapse a little bit,
Something that also contributes to that hurts my mental collapse or like makes me have a bit of a harder time is when I would go see an ENT and I know that there's something messed up with my hearing. I can tell that I'm not hearing the same way as if I was 5 months of no colds, no bouts, and I could just hear perfectly.
Right,
I can tell it's messed up, but then I go and get a ear hearing test. They do a pressure test, they do
right,
tones and all that. And they're like, "Look, here's the line. You can hear perfectly fine." But
right.
I know for a fact, as someone that spent years ear training, like to specific tones, that I'm not hearing to my full ability. So when I hear an ENT be like, "You're fine. Here's the paper that even says so from the test," I'm like, "Ah, what do I do?"
Yeah, that is the biggest. Oh man, you just woke up something in me when you said that. That is when I just like ready to walk out of there and just throw
Yeah,
my hands up in the air like, what is this? What are you talking about? I'm okay.
yeah,
This is not okay. This is the furthest from okay. And
definitely.
I think the biggest, and so now you're so how often, I think you kind of told me through a message before. You said you usually are pretty busy on the weekends.
Hmm.
How long would you say you're working pretty much all day, all weekend usually?
Yeah. So the way I play Fridays, Saturdays, and then I have a spare Sunday off, and then from like Tuesday to Thursday, I work on like creating content,
Right.
writing, recording, all that stuff, and I
When
work
you're
with a few different bands. So.
when you're distracted doing that, do you, like you said, I think it has a lot to do, like you said, it's a lot to do with the mental aspect of things. When you're working, and I know you kind of touched
Hmm.
on this a little bit before, you don't feel like that defeated in your body as much, right? You're just,
N-
or how do you
no,
feel
but I
exactly
feel the effects after. So
after the
so
effect?
yeah,
Yeah,
like I
right,
said, like I'll be working, I'll be playing, I'll be jamming, I'll be doing this and not even paying attention, and then I'll realize, oh, I just bobbed my head for like 40 minutes, and then I'll go to the bathroom, I'll go get some water, and be like, oh, I'm
right.
all tight. My ear's not popping, and I'm like, dang, and then start to spiral out a little bit. So it's like any little thing I do throws me into a small bout of like EDT. But if I'm working, I'm also
Yeah.
trying to be the best I can be for other people. So I'm like not actively thinking about it. So those are the best times, obviously, when I'm not, worrying
I
about
think
stuff
I,
like that.
I think this is actually a good thing, to be honest. Because what I'm doing is I'm asking you kind of these
Hmm.
questions because I think, because obviously I'm not a talented musician, never probably will be, but I definitely can relate to you being busy with something, content, like you said, you do content and things like that
Hmm.
too. This is actually a good thing, because if you were in a worst case scenario, you couldn't do any of that stuff.
No doubt.
You would be messed up. You wouldn't even want to play music anymore. You wouldn't even
N-
want to do meet up with the
Couldn't
band.
agree more.
Oh, so I'm actually feeling good about this right now, honestly, for you.
That's good.
Uh,
I mean, I have been there
yeah.
before. I have had day where I've
Oh
had to
yeah.
cancel. There's
Yeah.
no way I could even
Right.
take music into my ears. Like
Right.
there's been months where I've gone without being able to listen to music and feel like sad because I can't get that fix of just hearing a song I like. You know what I mean? So Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So there has been those periods, but as I'm trying to stay the course, eat healthier, take the right, supplements and get the right vitamins and just the whole course, red light
The
therapy,
whole thing.
um,
Yeah.
there seem to be less and less intense, but like I said, they're still happening. And I'm also trying to lose as much weight as possible, so if that also affect
And I think
how
that's
much.
gonna help. That's gonna help you a lot too. One of the things that I noticed doing all that stuff is you also just throwing it out there. You
Mhm.
also don't want to get too overwhelmed either. You want to,
That is a problem for me. Like,
yeah,
I definitely give, you know, my fiance and my mom, they love me, but they're sick of me because I just like I have an idea, I want to bounce it off them, and they're like, they're living their lives, so I can
yeah,
get overwhelmed and try to do too much and like use the ear popper too many times or use too much flow, whatever it is. I get overwhelmed and I try to fix the problem today, tomorrow, the next day, and then it's hard for me to like relax and just be like, it takes time. You're on the right path.
right.
Go watch a TV show.
Show them this video once it's all published,
Oh, I
because
will.
this
Trust
this
me.
is a normal thing. Honestly, I want them to know that what you're going through, honestly, Mason, this is I did the same thing. I was always you always pick one or two people. For me, it was I'm trying to think. I picked a couple of people, my wife and I picked my mom as well. That's funny. We kind of have we
Mhm,
share that a little bit. I picked two people that I was always updating about something that I'm going through, even though they got tired of hearing about it all the time. I was doing that so often that it was like I want everybody to watch that's watching this too know that that is a typical side effect. It's one of the things you deal with. It's a symptom where you feel you have to constantly over this, over that. I want you, I mean, you probably knew that already, but I want to just reaffirm that with whoever's going to watch this and your family, your loved ones,
mhm.
that it's not something that's like, oh, Mason's just being, he's just, here he goes with this
Mhm.
again. This is something that you just naturally gravitate to doing when
It's
you're
and
going through this thing.
You've even said it too that you didn't have a lot of people to talk to about it.
No.
Like,
Mm-mm.
trust me, anyone that comes across your channel is extremely thankful for the stuff you've been posting. Like, lending
Appreciate it.
yourself to be like just being an ear for people. Being like right now, it's extremely helpful for me. I have worn my family members' ears thin with how much I talk about my ears, and also like my bandmates. My best friend, I'm in a band with him, and he can see even he can see I don't want to bring it up and bring him down, but I'll be playing
Right.
something and be like try to pop my ear, and there's a disconnect in that, you know what I mean?
Right.
And he can tell that I don't want to bother him by being like, oh, sorry, my ears are just doing a weird thing, and let's just move on. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely hard to talk about it too much, but it is helpful. And yeah, I don't know.
I really want to keep. I really want you to yeah, like take a snippet of this, the whole thing, but of course this moment, because I did the same thing. For me, see, yours is a little bit different. You have a special gift, I would say, to be able to do that, to be able to kind of manipulate the pressure a little bit. That's actually something a lot of people can't do that. And for
I
me,
was
it was constantly doing this a lot, going up
yeah,
and reaching
trying to
to my
blow your
nose
nose.
all the time. People would see me doing that in the car. It got to a point where people would notice that I'm doing this. And I'd be like, oh, I didn't really want, I don't really want this to become a, personality that I'm doing. People can notice
Yeah,
me doing this all the time. I'm like, oh, I got to stop that. That's where that mental warfare starts to come in a little bit, where you're just constantly doing these little things. And like you just said, you were kind of swaying your head around a little bit, trying to get that blood to flow and trying to get that to open up and equalize a little bit. You're I'm just gonna say this, and I don't tell you can watch some of my past interviews. I don't tell this to everybody, but I think you're in a better spot than you probably feel right
yeah.
now.
I hear what you're saying for sure, but I go back and forth where I'm like, "Oh, man, I'm in the depths of it," but then
Yes,
also I'm like,
yes,
"Trust me, I know some people have it out so bad out there. The fact that I can
right.
pop my ears is, a positive." Um,
But I think what you're going through is you're just like mentally exhausted by
I'm
having
exhausted
to
by it, yeah.
think about everything. You just want to live, like you use that phrase twice in this, or maybe even more. They're living their life. You want to do the
Yeah,
same. It's a
same.
sign that that's what you want to do. You want to just
Mhm.
live. You don't want to be strategically planning the next snack or the next nap, or is that nap going to bother me, or if I have this drink, am I going to pay the price? Like, you don't want to go. I mean, you're
That's
in that
exactly how I
phase.
live right now.
Ah,
Every time I eat or anytime I try to get sleep, I like try to plan it so that I have ample time to like pop my ears or like get my ears right. It's very annoying. So
this is the video that I want to reach the masses, because this is the problem, and I don't want to put down any professionals. Your mom, thank for her service as well.
Mhm.
So I want everybody to know that this is not a knock to all the amazing men and women out there doing their job. This is just an awareness, basically an alert to everyone that it's deeper than just looking in there saying, "Oh, you may have some fluid. Oh, take this or do this Zyrtec or do this Afrin or whatever." It is way deeper than that. And I just want
Definitely.
everyone to know that. PSA out there. This is a big wake up call for everyone out there to know. If you go in all the chats, I mean, you've probably been. I have my group that I think I may
I'm
have
in a
seen you in
bunch
there.
of them, yeah.
Oh yeah, there's tons of them. There's one that's like, I've actually even reached out to the person that is moderating or so-called moderating.
Mhm.
I don't know
Yeah,
what they're doing with that. I always say, hey, if you need someone to run this thing, I'm your guy. And so he's
couldn't
like,
agree
no,
more.
at this time I'm okay. Yeah, I would love to, because there is 5,000 people in just that group alone, over 1,000 in the group that you're in with me.
Mhm.
Um, these people aren't just complaining because they have a little problem with their ear.
No.
It's deeper than that, and
And
you're
they need
showing
someone
them.
like you to actively be, like, daily helping, reaching out, responding, connecting people, like, the admins definitely should be doing that. The more we can talk about it, the closer we can get, you know what I mean? I've learned a lot of stuff just watching your videos and watching interviews with other people and hearing other
Yeah,
people's stories, and even going on TikTok, just people that don't deal with their ears or aren't as hyper attuned to their ears,
right.
um, in the way that they talk about it. Just learning about the way that everyone thinks about their ears is extremely helpful for me and how I want to try to heal mine.
And you know what? And I know just getting a cold is devastating for
Yeah,
you. That shouldn't even be, obviously no one wants to get sick,
it really
but
sucks.
people don't realize and people don't realize when you have ETD, getting a cold is almost like getting a disease. It's they don't understand the level of impact. Like, some people are like, "Oh, I have this silly cold. I'm gonna, take something." It is a very detrimental thing for
So
us.
I got a small chest cold on the 3rd of July, and today is the first day I've been able to pop my ears on my own without having to use the
Wow.
ear popper. So
Wow.
and I haven't felt the cold since like the 5th. I felt it for 2 days, just like
Yeah.
right here, a little phlegmy cough, and
Yeah.
I instantly go, well, rip to my ears.
Yeah,
And
rip
then
to your
sure enough,
ears, right.
I'll have a whole week of just not being able to like pop my ears. I got to use the ear popper, overinflating, all the whole thing. And plus I haven't strayed from the path. I'm still eating healthy, doing all the other things. So it is a little bit hard, but this I can it is helping. I can tell that the days are getting smaller in between when
Right.
I do get sick. The thing is you can't avoid getting sick. So
Yeah,
you
you
have to.
can't.
So my goal is to just boost my immune system as high as possible. I look at
Right.
like major athletes and why don't they get sick? So
All right. Yeah, I was doing. It's funny. It's funny you said that. I was doing that. Like the last, was it like the last month or so? I was doing that, watching athletes, watching the USA
Mhm.
basketball, then watching, and I was like, man, these guys are like resilient. And so,
Yeah.
one of the things that I want to bring up with you, and
Mhm.
there's gonna be a point where you gradually, slowly, when I say that very, very, like, in quotes,
Mhm.
gradually and slowly, where you start less hyperfixating on the things that you actually need to do every day. It's going to be a
Yes.
point, and it's going to be hard. You've already endured it a lot, but you're going to wake up one day and you're probably slowly, kind of like you just said, you're slowly seeing a little bit, still not there
Mhm.
yet, but there's going to be a point where you actually wake up and you realize that you're doing everything far less. And I wanted to tell you that just because it's not gone, it doesn't mean that it's not on its way out. And that's what happened with
Right.
me. It was to the point where it was it was so first of all, you probably are a little bit like me. Are you an impatient person a little bit?
I try to be patient. I mean, that's the journey of life. So I want to say yes, but no,
I'm not
I
patient
can
at all.
I can get a little frustrated sometimes, you know.
I'm not patient at all. The reason
Yeah.
why I ask, because I'm not at all. I'm like not
No,
patient at all.
I can be impatient for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think you're probably a lot better than me, but honestly,
especially with
I
my ear.
think, oh yeah, because you've been going
I'm
through it
like
for too long.
I'm like,
Yeah,
"Fixed
yeah.
now. I need to be fixed right now."
I think what's gonna happen, well, if this is my own, and I'm not just basing this on my own story, but this is
Mhm,
what I've been seeing. After 6 years of talking and dealing with it, kind of dealing with it and talking with people, it gets to a point where you just take everything that you're doing, the hyperfixation things, all the little things,
mhm,
and you slowly, if you can shed off one less time a day, think about it. If you could just take one less pop a day, or whatever it is that one less problem, one less worry, one less everything, one a day, just one time less. You will be so surprised that, and I think a lot of people, when I talk to them, they expect that they wake up and it's gone. I've never seen that before yet.
right. No, that's good
I wish
advice.
it was like that. But it's gonna be where, like, you're gonna go on your next flight, where whenever that is, you're gonna go on your next trip or wherever in the future, and you're gonna realize that, oh shoot, I didn't check that barometer this time, or oh shoot, oh, I forgot to check these things, or I forgot to think about these things, and then it becomes a second nature to you, to where you're like, wow, I didn't check my app this time, I
Mhm,
didn't pop it as much this, my ear this time, I didn't even think about the Eustachian, that, all these little things, the ear popper, all these things.
yeah.
It becomes gradual, and I think with hearing you talk about it, it doesn't. I know you're like, oh, I've tried it all, I've heard it all. I really don't think you're that far from going right back to the way you
Uh,
used to be.
I'm actively trying to stay positive and think about that's like I said, that's the next step of my journey is the mental health and thinking of taking
Right,
steps to lower the way or decrease the number of things that I have to worry about each day so that
right.
I could just get through the day or whatever. So that's a great way to think about it. One less whatever, you know what I mean? One less thing that'll ultimately keep whittling down to where I'm just doing having my day.
Let me ask you this, Mason. I always ask this to every. I try to ask this to everybody I speak to,
Hmm.
and I've gotten mixed answers, and sometimes some people can pinpoint, some people can't. Do you recall in the last? I always like to just say 3 weeks, maybe just
Hmm.
three. Let's just do 3 weeks. Has there been one day where you were like, "Dang, I actually felt great all day"? Have you had one of those yet in the last 3 weeks?
Unfortunately,
Not yet?
the last 3 weeks I've been dealing with ear issues. So the beginning of July, I got
Right.
sick,
You
so
got sick,
literally the
so,
last 3 weeks have been the worst comparatively, but
alright.
I would say if I went back to, like, mid-June, I had a moment where I was like, "Man, my ear health has been amazing." I
Okay, that's
swear to you,
yeah.
I actually said it out loud to Thomas when we were working. Um, I don't even remember. Oh, I actually do remember what happened. We were playing a place, motorcycles went by, and it hurt my ears, and I went, "Ow, that hurt my." I haven't had a ear problem in so long that you know what I mean. So when I had ear pain, it reminded me that I had been feeling ear pain. I was like,
Wow, and that
"Oh,
was in June?
my." Yeah, that was in June.
Oh, man, see, that's always
So
asked that because for you, it's a different situation because you're getting over something that, you're trying to
yeah,
get over
yeah. I
this
just
thing.
had, but before I was sick, I did have a nice like couple of months where I had really good ear health. I could tell that like tonally I was hearing things that sounded really good. I was connecting with music. I still pop my ears every day, but
Yeah.
it wasn't like an issue. Like I could just have a meal and not think, by the time I'm done cleaning up, pop my ears. I'm like, I'm good, feeling good. I like
Wow.
they're nice and loose. Every night before I go to bed, I do like little exercises. I try to massage my jaw
Get some
daily.
drainage, yeah.
I'm actively doing things every day
Right.
to make sure my ears are nice and loose and feeling good. So, um,
Are you
yeah,
dealing with any tinnitus at all, ringing of the ears, anything like that?
only time I have tinnitus is if I hear something really loud. For example, when my girl opened the soda and I'm kind of going
You
through a
got
little
it right then.
hyperacusis
Right.
right then for the next 20 minutes. But no, fortunately, I don't have like sleeping tinnitus or I don't. Something I do that really helps me sleep as the guy that can't sleep. I listen to sleep stories every night. So
Oh, that's great.
I put on like a little rain sound above my head, and some guys like, "You're on a mountaintop."
Oh, yeah, I like
And
those are amazing.
like one of those and tells me like a little story and those type of things just hearing the white noise but really subtly. um I do have a fan that I sleep with. Like there's no way I could sleep in silence. I think it's a little
Oh, yeah.
rough. Yeah, yeah. So I have
Yeah,
like little background noises and stuff like that that really try to help soothe my ears, so I don't really feel like tinnitus is plaguing me too much, fortunately. I know some
that's a
people
good yeah, that's a good
I've
thing because
had
I
it before.
yeah.
I've had it
Jeez.
in a session before where I'm hearing a note in my ear and it doesn't work with the key of the song, and I can literally hear like the notes going "Ooh," like a not like a clashing,
Oh,
and
wow.
that has been really weird and distracting. I've had to be like, "I need a break,"
Yeah, let me take a little break from
because
this.
it's like a little note you hear, like a phantom note or something. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
if it's not in the key of whatever I'm working on, it can be very distracting.
I am relieved to hear you don't have that as an ongoing symptom,
Yeah.
because that is something that I didn't have it as
Did you? Did you?
not as much, honestly. I had it very little. Like you said, I had it where if someone like you said, oh, like to this day though, I still have triggers when someone squeezes a water bottle. You know,
Oh, just pow.
they try to like compress it so they can throw it
Uh-huh.
away or so. Oh gosh, like I'm like, please just throw it away, like
When's the
recycle it.
last when's the last time that you felt like you had a problem with your state or you like a bout where you had hearing problems or you were back on the grind?
Good question. Usually when like it's usually when I'm going through a lot of stress all at once, like a lot.
Okay.
Like usually for me, I get a little bit of about if like my kid is dealing with a cold that's really bad and I'm like not sleeping, constantly thinking about them. And they're dealing with their own little things, so I start having little rebounds.
Mhm.
And so usually, and so that's what I was, and I'm glad you said that because that's kind of tipping me off to my next question and my next kind of thing I wanted to ask you about.
Mhm.
um Usually when I'm under a lot of elevated stress, like usually it's one
Yeah.
of those things where it's not gradual, it's like boom, I'm getting this stress right now. Or you and believe it or not, like big trips, sometimes I'll get a little bit like, just kind of waiting for it to happen kind of thing. You kind of
Yeah.
kind of get a little bit of a bout. So for me it's more anticipation.
Okay.
And so I noticed that through the years of healing myself and helping to talk with others, help me heal myself. I've gotten good at connecting to my mind now, though. And so I get into my mind, and this is why I think yours is going to be go over soon. And I say that with confidence. Um, when you get into the mind, and you already know that's something that you're trying to work on too.
Mhm.
I get into my mind quickly, and I say, "This is not good." It's weird when you go through this, you kind of gain a power. You gain a little bit of a superpower in a way. And it sounds funny saying that, but you gain a superpower to where when I realize I'm about to start having like rebounds, I get into my mind and I tell myself, we're not doing this. I'm not going backwards. I'm not going to go backwards. I know what this is. I know what I need to do to fix it, and I know what's causing it. When you can do
Mhm.
all those things in a healthy manner, in a manner where you are full control of yourself and not worry at all. Like you don't have a worry. Like when I say
That's the
anticipation,
goal.
that is a goal, and that's when I think you're going to start feeling better. See, anticipation doesn't mean worry. Anticipation
Mhm.
means I'm ready. I want to do it
Right.
now. And
Right.
so separating anticipation from worry is the key, because I think what separates me and maybe a lot of other people is that they assume anxiety is always worry. Anxiety is
Mhm.
not always worry. Anxiety means I'm anticipating. And so anxiety could also mean I'm anticipating the worst. You don't want to do that either. So I've had to separate myself from anticipating the best, because you can still have symptoms anticipating the best too. Like think about it. When you said you're engaged, that's a great thing, right? But who's
Yeah.
to say that you're not going to have some? You're probably going to have some jitters. You're going to have some worry. Have some anticipation. You just want to
Thousand
get your
things to think about, you know,
a
so of
thousand
course,
things to
yeah.
think about, right? So I think where you're at right now. So just sorry if it was a long drawn answer, but
No, by all means.
yeah, I think right now is when I have bouts. Either I'm trying to help my kid get better or something like that, or they're dealing with something that I can't completely always control. And then when I'm anticipating an event that is going to require a lot of,
Mhm.
involvement, that's when I have to tap into my mind and say, I'm not going to let this thing do that. And I think that's where you're headed. You may not see that now, but I think when you start to do that, so yeah, that's what I do. I have about tap into my mind, and it slowly goes away. I
Yeah.
don't I don't do anything anymore now, Mason, where I used to like see. I think that's when you graduate, is when you realize you don't need any tools anymore. It's all right
Yeah.
here.
I'm not there yet. I'm trying
You're getting
hard.
but you're getting there, and you're gonna
Yeah.
you're gonna get there. And I had to change my verbiage a little bit. But when you get to the point where your tools are here, The only
Mhm.
thing I carry with me now is chapstick and maybe a few mints or something, whatever.
I
Uh,
definitely get anxiety if I don't have, like, Flonase or some kind of thing in case I'm in a scenario where, like,
that's all
I
right.
need to have it, or, like, I need to have my ear pop now or else I'm gonna ruin some I don't even know. I
No,
just
that's
that's how I
totally
feel.
no, that's totally
Yeah.
okay. You're making gradual steps. I
Right.
look, I still carry every now and then. I even carry those that you've probably seen it. They're all over the market. They're like little nasal basically inhalers. They're just nasal
Mhm.
sticks pretty much. I don't know if you've seen it
Oh,
where
yeah, 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 yeah.
you just put them in there. I'm actually I won't go into it too much. I'm actually on the process of trying to recreate some of those things for
Oh, cool.
people in the future. But I think where you're at right now, you're in a good spot. It doesn't seem like it. Probably at times you say it's at
No, I
times.
hear you. I do hear what you're saying, and I
As an
definitely think
overall
I'm
person, though, I think you're doing great. I mean, if
thank you.
you really are, honestly, just hearing you speak.
The
I mean,
more knowledge I can have, the more I feel better about it, so I'm gonna constantly be trying to learn everything about from anatomy to the drugs to, like, the mental side, all of that. So,
and
trying to
I think you're doing a great job. Honestly, I think what really I could talk about red light, I could talk about Flonase, I could talk about all these things. It didn't get better until I refocused myself on a mission. So, and I've never told you this before. Some people ask, how can you get on YouTube with all the billions of things you can talk about, all the millions of videos you can do, and how can you get on there and just focus on hyper focus on these conditions? This is actually playing into me having a purpose and a mission.
a
You
thousand percent.
you ever notice that you playing music for people, making them feel good, like being the highlight of their night is a mission of yours. And I think the more you focus on that, what you're already doing, you'll start to find that as you focus on your own mission, like that soldier that is in the battlefield. I know it sounds extreme, but it's real. Like that soldier that has all these wounds but doesn't notice anything right now
Mhm.
because his only focus is to try to get over that finish line, try to get all his
Right.
people over there to victory. It's the same. There's no difference in the mind doesn't know the difference. The mind thinks everything's the same. So you playing music, when you tell me, yeah, I have some days where I don't feel like doing that, that's normal because there's some days where I don't want to make a YouTube video either.
Right.
And so when you tell me that you have those days where you're just jamming out, you're feeling good and all of that, and then you come back after the battle's over and you're like, oh man,
Mhm.
I have all these wounds now. That is a sign of a gradual progress that's almost in the imminent future of healing for you. That's what I'm trying to say. Like
Absolutely.
you're on your way. Seriously, you really are. You
Absolutely.
really are on your way right now.
I just wanna take a second too, because you said you're talking about your purpose. Everyone that finds your YouTube video is so thankful, man. Like, I'm extremely
Oh,
thankful
thank
for all the videos you put out, like, they've got me through definitely dark nights where I'm having hard times hearing and there's nothing I can do besides learn and wanna do research, and just listening to your videos it helps immensely, so thank
Oh
you.
man, I appreciate you. I'll keep going. There's
Dude,
times where
please.
I will definitely keep going. I have moments where I'm like, I think I'm drowning everybody right now, and then I'll
Nah,
start doing other.
you can't post enough, especially, it's such a specific thing that we're going through. It's not like you're drowning people in, like, random TikTok content. It's people that are
Right,
specifically trying
right.
to find answers and soothe themselves in any way, and just finding another video that they haven't watched, or hearing you know, someone like my perspective on ETD. It can just make a big difference, so
Just to hear you speak, I mean, like you're very well spoken. You're doing all that you can do. You're utilizing the resource that you have right now to your advantage to try to get over this. There's nothing but I don't see any because I've told people. I mean, some of those haven't been aired or haven't aired. I've told people, you need more. I mean, and I don't want to say it in a negative way, but I want to. Sometimes I tell people, I say, there's a lot more. There's a lot of things you have to do right now to get to
right.
the point, right? I mean, and I try to say it as sensitive as possible. But with you, I think for you, it's just it. You don't really have to blow up the program or anything for you. I think for you, it's really just tapping in the places that you're already doing and continuously doing it because it's moving
Consistency.
into consistency, right? And I
Yeah.
think that's where you are right now. um The sleep you already know of. That's something that's going to
That's
improve
my
as
biggest thing,
right.
yeah.
The
It's
sleep
hard.
will improve. Um, like I said, the biggest thing is you'll start to slowly not map out everything that you need to do for the day or everything
Mhm.
that's going to be a repercussion. You'll slowly stop that by like it's going to happen. It's you're not going to have to force it. It's going to happen naturally and organically to where you're going to be able to get up, have yourself a nice meal, a cheap meal, whatever it is that you enjoy, and then you're not going to have to pay for that all the time. You know, you're going
Right,
to
that's the
enjoy that.
goal.
Yeah, because right
Yeah,
now you're paying for it, right? A little bit, you know.
definitely. Definitely,
Yeah,
every meal I'm
yeah,
thinking, right now my meals are, like, soft. Like, the least amount of chewing I can do,
right,
uh, the better, I had, like, an omelet when I woke up, stuff like that, stuff that are nice and
right.
but I wanna get to the point where I can go hit the steakhouse and not worry about it.
Exactly. Now I know you've probably seen. I've backtracked doing videos about it because I think either a it's the videos that get the most down likes ever. But do you drink any caffeine at all? Anything?
No, I'm actually super sensitive caffeine, like insanely
Okay, that's
sensitive. Like
me
just
too.
having a small amount of coffee will just throw off my whole day. I don't know. I've always been like that since I was young. So I also don't do any sugar. I've been on a no sugar diet for like 3 months, and
Wow.
it messed my stomach up when I first started, but which just showed me how much sugar I have been eating. I'm sure I
Right.
still get some sugar in foods, but I'm not drinking any sugar drinks. I'm not having like snacks and candies and stuff. Um, one thing I've actually been trying to do is have a small handful of cherries because they're supposed to have anti-inflammatory
Oh
properties.
yeah,
Something
amazing.
I've learned about. So little things like that. That's where I'm trying to go. Just trying to all those little micro adjustments, and I'm like really tracking to see if it makes a difference. I'll really know the next time I get like a major cold. If I get a
Right.
major cold and then I lose my hearing for like 4 months or something, I'm gonna be like, "Ah, what am I doing?"
What am
But
I
I don't
doing
think that's
here?
the case. I think I am actively working off a little bit, shaving off a little bit every time, like you said, one less ear pop, one less thing to worry about, and then one day I'll be able to actively be able to just do the things I want to do without having to stress about when or how long before do I need to take a something that's gonna anti-inflammatory whatever before I eat so that I can pop my ears or all that. That's kind of where I'm at now. So one more
And
quick
I think
question
you're doing
actually.
really good. You're doing really good. But yeah, I definitely want to hear your question.
Have you messed with or have you looked into stoicism at all?
I don't
I'm
know. I don't
I'm
think so.
kind of
Uh-uh.
so I've never been an anxious person until I started dealing with ETD. So the only times I've ever dealt with anxiety has been like through childhood and up until now. Whenever I have ear problems, I don't usually have anxiety with regular things in life. So as I'm taking this journey into the making my mental health a little better, I'm trying to look into stoicism and just learn stoic tenets and learn more about like Marcus Aurelius or Epictetus. They
Wow.
basically talk about like they talk about like you can't control what happens, just how you react to what happens.
Okay, yeah, I
So,
have
like,
heard of that before.
getting things like that in my mind when I'm having a really bad time seems to be, like, the first steps for me.
How
I
long
don't
have
know
you been
anything either.
studying? How long have you
Like,
been kind of really researching it?
super new, like, a couple weeks. So that's I'm
Okay.
not, like, one to talk on stoicism or anything like that. Like, there's
Right.
probably stoics watching this, like, "What an idiot," but I'm just, you know, everything I do is a tool to try to find a way to make myself feel better with ETD. So stoicism might just be the one another tool for me to learn about how to control my emotions and how I react to things, especially when I'm having a flare up and I'm out in public or something. You know what I mean? So if
You're
there's
right.
little tenets, little phrases or things that I can say to remind myself, like if the Emperor of Rome could calm down, I think I can take 10 minutes and take a breath. And
I have
yeah,
researched. I have see you just it's definitely gonna do more research on that just because I like to research. I mean, that's that
same here.
I'm a you're
Can't
like that
stop.
too. I'm a
Yeah.
learner. You're a learner. I will definitely do more of that. But for sure, something for me was like you said, it's similar tapping into the mental aspect. That's similar to what you're kind of saying a little bit because
Right.
really the thing about it is for me it was I guess trying to do a little bit of what you're kind of doing now is every time I felt something, I felt like one plus one is two. Like I had to bring attention. Like if someone gives me something, I got to give them something back. If I feel
Hmm.
something, I have to find that exact thing like for every uh thing I feel, there needs to be an immediate resolution to that one thing. And then those
Yes.
one things becomes two things, and then those two things become three things. And now I'm just scatterbrained because I'm like, I'm trying to plug in all these different. It's like I used to work in a server room. I'm not gonna bore you with this story, but I used to work in a server room. When there's issue, you go in a server room. There's all these lights flickering everywhere. There's
Mhm.
cables going in all over. I mean, you've seen it before in your
Mhm.
in your doing music. You
Mhm.
try to figure out by punching in one cable here, one. You're gonna eventually burn. You're either gonna drive yourself crazy or you're gonna drive the system crazy. Hence the body.
Right.
And I realized that not everything requires a one-to-one scenario resolution. Because if you think about it, if you heal just one thing, one large thing,
Mhm.
it just it heals everything down below. And I had to
Exactly.
kind of tell, you know what I mean? And so I had to kind of realize if I have an ear, let me just give you a more literal or more specific reason. Like if I had ear pressure, I'd be like, okay, now I need to figure out how to get rid of ear pressure. Oh, I'm a little dizzy now. I got to figure out how to get rid of dizziness. Mason, my medicine cabinet was overflowed probably in 1 month. I had everything falling out of there. I would open that cabinet and everything would just fall out. I had ginkgo
Mhm.
biloba falling out. I had anti-inflammatory. I had turmeric pills. I had ginger pills. And I was just like every day I was going through that cabinet trying to find everything to fix whatever one problem or two or three I had. I think the biggest thing that you this is the biggest thing. Take it up with the boss. Just go to the boss. Don't go to the employees. Don't go to one body part. Take it up to the boss. And when I realized that, I took it up to the boss, which is our brain, our central nervous system that runs everything in our body. When I finally went to the boss and I said, "This is where it's going to start and end," I stopped. I stopped doing that to myself.
Mhm.
And then to kind of go back to your question real quick, since I'm rambling a little. When you said, "Would you ever have any bouts or anything?" I finally learned if I start here and go down, just start from here and go back down, it all goes away. It's all connected.
That's exactly what I need to do because right now I'm on the opposite where I just go
Right.
straight to the medicine cabinet. So you're that this is what I needed to hear, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
you need to
that's
hear that.
exactly what I need to do. It's hard when you're feeling
Yeah,
things. When
true.
you're feeling them, you're actually feeling like the pressure. It's hard to say just like calm down. But I know
So
that
hard.
if I do,
Yeah.
then the time when my ear pops will come sooner. Everything will get better. It's hard,
And it,
but yeah.
and it's a training mechanism. It's like telling somebody to ride a bike and then saying don't fall.
Right.
It's like what kind of advice is that? Like, of course I know not to fall. I mean, but my body doesn't know that. My body keeps giving me like I'm on a bike and I keep trying to not fall, and you're just telling me not to fall. How is that going to help me? I realize when there's going to be a connection between the awareness of the mind and the words that you speak. There's going to
Mhm.
be an imminent middle ground. So between the mind's actions and the body's reaction and the body's verbiage, there's a middle ground between where it goes from there. So when someone just says heal the mind, then they're not really giving you the blueprint on what that even means.
Right.
What really happens is when we spoke here today, I used a lot of key words that when you go back and listen, you'll see I kept
Mhm.
saying you're doing good, you're doing great. Does that mean I'm lying to you? Not at all. But your definition of great might be gone for some
Right,
people.
right.
Their definition of great might be gone. My definition of great is you can still do what you love for as a passion, as a living. That's
Yeah.
great to me. So I think when you change your perspective a little bit, Mason, when you start to change, not really, not change them, you're already showing that you're doing that.
I know what you're
It-
saying for sure.
you know what I'm saying? Like if you can kind of modify a little bit, if you can kind of say to your brain, talk to yourself a little, like I'm doing all right. I'm actually doing pretty good here. I can get up. If once you get that in sync with your daily habits and your daily actions and the things you do, the mind will take over the rest. You don't have to do anything
Mhm.
else. That's when they say heal the mind. Makes you think like you need to. What do you mean? What do I need to do? Do I need to? Where do I start? What do I take? It
Mhm.
actually starts with the verbiage, the speaking of the mind, the speaking of the words, and the awareness of what's going to happen after the fact. I'm telling you, it's a powerful thing. And I think when you're on your, I mean, like I said, I'm using these things not to trick you or like to
No, I
be
don't I
this.
don't think you are. I think these are the
Yeah,
next steps of my journey because I've
this is
done
your,
all of
yeah,
the other things. I've done all like from the physical,
yeah.
the physical to the medicine, all of it. So the next part is, it's a part that's going to work with everything else to help me ultimately
S-
feel
So
better, I
like,
think.
I want to know. we're today is Wednesday the 17th.
Mhm.
What are some of the, like, just real quick, and before I
Mhm.
get you out, I don't want to bore you too long here.
Oh, by all
Um,
means.
what is your next, like, for example, right now it's 1:09 p.m. where I'm at. What time, what's the time, your current
I'm
time?
in
I just
Florida, so, it's 4 o'clock.
So it's 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
What would you typically, like, after this call is over? I'm doing this because then
Mhm.
I'll kind of illustrate it after that. What would you normally do right now after this call is over, which we're going to wrap up? What are you going to do after? Do you typically, will you have your dinner soon, or you go somewhere
So,
soon? What are you going to do after here?
I live and work with my bandmate, so we
Okay,
have our weekdays pretty planned out. So, after this, I have a little home gym, so I'm gonna do some exercise in the gym,
awesome,
and then, we shot a music video on Monday, so we're gonna work together in front of the computer for a couple of hours.
awesome.
And then, by that time, it should be like 7 or 8, and then, yeah, I'll have dinner, something light so that my ears don't clog
Yeah,
up too bad. I'll probably have, like, soup or maybe I don't know, gotta talk to the fiancé first, but,
yeah,
and then I'll have some time in between there to, like, literally, I have a massage that I do on my neck, and then I do red light therapy on both sides of my ears before I go to bed, and
that's awesome.
um I have, like, a little stand so it swivels so I can just move it
Yeah,
over. I have the
that's
exact same
awesome.
one that you have, so,
Oh, that's
I'll
great.
do a little red light therapy, and then that'll be it before I go to bed, but that's the plan. My fiancé will probably fall asleep in 2 seconds, and then I'll watch a show and twiddle my thumbs and check my
Yeah,
Instagram, and then maybe I'll end up
exactly.
back on the computer. I try really hard to get some sleep tonight, that's the goal. I really want to find healing. I know that it is definitely messing me up, but it's
It
really hard because it's a
Yeah,
subconscious panic that happens. It's not like I'm
right,
awake and I'm like, "Oh, I can just calm down, I'm awake." What happens is I
right.
fall asleep and then I'm like I wake up and my heart's racing and my ears messed up and I'm like, "Ah." So, the goal hopefully would be to just get a little exercise in so that get the blood flowing and then, by the time I'm ready to go to bed, I should be relaxed.
The reason why I asked you that, and you just summed up what I was see. A lot of times I ask, because I interview so many people throughout the years,
Mhm,
that I the reason why I asked you that is because, again, you just reaffirmed that you're in a good state of mind. Because a lot of times when I ask that question, no one can really, when you're really in a rough state of mind, you're like,
mhm.
I don't know. I'm just
Yeah,
gonna, I
I've
guess,
been there, trust me, like, l living by the
I'm gonna
minute.
lay down. I'm gonna watch. Right, 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 and you don't plan on living like, you have some, obviously you're gonna talk with your fiance, but you have some plans that you're gonna try to do today, and that is a great sign. I'm not
Exactly.
worried about you at all. Honestly, I have no worry about you whatsoever, because the fact that you told me all these things shows that the mind is open to doing things. Because when you really get, because I've talked to some others that are like, I'm not gonna do anything. I don't care about anything right now, and that's when I'm like, okay, wait, I really got to help this person out a lot. Like, I
Yeah.
really need to dive in, try to figure out, and then obviously I need to refer them to someone that is doing this on a high level. But
Mhm.
for you, I am like, I feel very positive about where
Thank
you're
you.
going with this. This is really a good thing, man. Like, you probably felt that there were some positive changes, but see, this condition will start to swat away any positive that you might feel. It tries to swat away anything that sounds good, that may feel good.
Mhm.
It really is trying its best to do, like, rupture your mental thinking, the way you think. And it sounds like you got a good grasp.
Well,
And I know
it takes
yeah,
me getting to that point of being like,
yeah,
I've been there where I'm like, I'm not doing anything until I
oh
feel
yeah,
better.
that's
Weeks
gonna
go
happen.
by and nothing
Right.
happens. So it takes me getting to the point of complete exhaustion and being like, to be like, all right, I have to actively make a plan for my day. I have to do
Yes.
things that are going to make it so I can sleep later tonight. Otherwise,
Yeah.
if I don't, like, I'm never good. This is just existence. Maybe it's not
Yep.
true, but still, like, just end up going round and around. So yeah.
You're on a good track. I just want to, before I get you out of here, I really want to tell you that, um I want our conversations to continue as well. Whether it be through, online, you need to call sometimes, reaffirm some things you feel or thinking. I really think that, see, when people are first, when they're the newcomers, I won't go too long into this. When they're newcomers to this issue, they feel like it's there's something that they need to do right now that's going to just take everything away. And I want
Mhm.
everyone to know that this is definitely a sign. This is you're a testament of a person that's towards the end of this thing now. Just
Mhm.
by talking to you, yeah, you're gonna have those bouts where you're like, "Ah, I'm defeated today." That's normal though. Even if you were healthy 100%, you would
Right.
have bouts like that where you're like,
It's not like it
"I'm over
was though.
today." It's not like it. Why? It's not like it was. And so you really are going to. You really need to. I think after this, I think if I could give you some verbal homework here,
Mhm.
and you pretty much already know what you need to do. I would say the couple of things just by talking to you today is I would say at night especially is start to do your absolute best like you're already doing. You've already incorporated sounds and things like that to help yourself fall asleep. Do your absolute best to anticipate that you're probably weeks from healing, maybe 2 weeks, maybe 3 days, maybe 5 days. Start to count down this magical number that we don't obviously none of us know. Start believing like you do know though. I know this sounds crazy.
Right.
Just follow along with me here.
Uh-huh.
Think about when like you might have a wedding date planned. You already
Mhm.
know when it's coming, right? So you know how to prepare yourself because you know that date. It's the same. When you're trying to get rid of this thing, give yourself this magical date in your head constantly though, not just one time.
Mhm.
That okay, after maybe this maybe by the end of the summer, I'm back to myself. I'm not going to have all these bouts.
It's a great
Start
idea.
start to do that over and over and over because the mind doesn't know the difference. The mind, you're telling the mind your wedding day. I'm just kind of using that
Mhm.
because that's something you shared with me,
Mhm.
that you were you have a fiance, so I'm using that as a little bit of an example. So like you have an event scheduled, so you know to be your best before that event, obviously,
Right.
right? You kind of know. So
Absolutely.
you're not gonna like scrape your way to that event. You're gonna try to be as polished as possible.
Mhm.
So it's the same thing when you're trying to heal. You don't have a healing date, but you can create one. So the best thing
Nice.
to do is create your own healing date that you're going to do that no one's going to affirm for you. You're going to do it. You're going to say after the end of July, I'm going to be back to myself. But you have to reaffirm that to yourself over and over and over and over and over and
Mhm.
even before you go to bed. Do the same thing. It's almost July 18th tomorrow. It will be 18th.
Mhm.
Tell yourself don't give yourself a little cushion too though. Don't say,
Oh, yeah, I get it. By
you know what I'm
tomorrow
saying?
morning, I'm gonna be
Yeah,
good. Yeah.
right.
No, no, I understand. Like
Yeah,
actively working towards
actively. Uh,
a goal
you
of
got it.
healing or a healing
You
date.
got it. You got it. Do
Yes,
that over and over and over because now you're reaffirming to your mind that that's a plan in action that's actually going to happen, and you know it, you feel it, you said it, and you believe it, and you'll start manifesting that ability to heal, and the body will follow what you tell it. So over time, you'll start to notice that, whoa, wait a minute, that might actually, that's actually going to do something for you. So but again, I'm very, very pleased to have this sit down with you, Mason. Man, I know it's been
absolutely.
a long time. We since going back to October, we were chatting a little bit here and there.
Uh-huh.
You've been very gracious with your time, and just thank you again for just supporting, the movement, the being a part of it, sharing your story. And it's some things that are not always easy to share. You made a point to make time to do that, and I just really thank you for that, honestly.
Of course, I'll be in the comments. I'm not sure if you'll share this video or not, but if you do, I'll be in the comments. Feel free to people ask me questions about anything. Any
Absolutely.
information I can share for other people, the better. I think the more that we can all talk and about our own individual circumstances, the better that we'll all understand how to deal with our own. And thank you, man. You're the best. Like seriously, finding your videos
Oh,
have
man, I
helped us
appreciate
so
it.
much, helped me so much, and it helps a ton of other people. And we need more people like you. So
Oh, I appreciate that.
yeah, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna continue to provide the content. I know it definitely just hearing you say that it gives me a sense of it gives me that motivation to provide because that's what ultimately like to do is just provide any help I
Absolutely.
can. Even through some of the situations where I just wish I could just heal someone overnight. I
Yeah.
wish I could just give you something tonight to make you feel better. But just hearing you talk, um, you're one of the ones that I don't really feel it's necessary because I feel like you're a pretty strong guy, man. I mean, I feel like you're
I'm
really
gonna be
good.
doing nonstop research, so feel free to use me as a tool. If you have, I'm gonna anything I feel like I discover or could be interesting, I'm gonna send your way for you to look up to. Like I just want to help. So I think you do
Absolutely.
too.
Absolutely. Yeah. Anytime, anything you see, send it my way. And but yeah, I appreciate you taking time. And I'll try to have this edited and put on. I'll send you like a notification ahead of time. I'll try to
Cool.
do like one of those live. Basically, to be like a live stream, and
Live
anyone
premiere,
can
yeah.
premiere, right? And then you already know about all that stuff. And I'll shoot you the link, and then yeah, anybody in the comments will probably pick your brain about all the things that you've experienced. So.
Sounds good. Thanks for
All
taking the
right.
time.
Absolutely, Mason. Well, I will be in touch with you, and I'll talk to you real soon.
Sounds good.
All righty. Talk to you soon. Okay.
All right.
All right. Bye.